We've been waiting far too long, but we are back with baseball season. It's opening day. Chad the Mark and Mr. Brown are going to be watching the Reds and Braves play tonight, but Mr. Brown took some time out of his day to represent We Don't Know Sports and America's pastime, the love of baseball. Find the group on Facebook, but it's time for a No Filter segment, Atlanta Braves edition. What is up? We Don't Know Sports Nation. Now is the time that we ask fans all across the world to take off the filter, rip off the Band-Aid, and tell everyone exactly what is on their mind. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for No Filter.
Gentlemen, welcome to the show. This is a segment of No Filter. It's all Braves fans today, and we did it last year. We had 3 fans on opening day, so baseball's full of superstitions, so we've got to run it back. We've got to have a show on opening day because we're going to be the first team in that last 20 years or so to run it back. And that's my expectation. We got to say that we're Braves fans. So let's get rolling. We're going to meet the panel here. Up top to my right here is Chris Hayes. He's the main admin for Braves Support Group. Last year we had Jerry Allman represent the group, and he did a nice job. So he couldn't make it today, so I invited Chris. So how you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. How about you?
Doing great. It's I'm waiting patiently for this Reds game.
That's right, man. Looking forward to it.
We, like I said off the air, we got Richard M. You want to tell us how to say that last name?
Masajic.
Masajic.
So say massage and put an ick at the end.
That's not as bad as I would have thought it would have been. So that makes it a lot easier. All right,
it's not too bad.
Richard is the admin for Atlanta Braves Dugout, and he's also affiliated with Atlanta Braves Podcast Group. And he helps me a lot in my America's Pastime group. We talk about it every day on history of the game, all decade teams, players, and their place in history. So I appreciate your support, and I'm going to keep harassing you in the near future, okay?
No problem. I love it.
All right, and the veteran of the group, Jordan Poole, he's joining us for the 3rd time. He was on here last year on opening day as well. And he is the co-creator of Chop Champions Facebook group. And he's also a writer for the Braves Tama blog. How you doing, Jordan?
What is up, my man? Yeah, I enjoyed being with you guys twice last year. And I remember being on here and joining you. And one of the questions was, what's the key to the Braves season? And it was the bullpen. I remember I said that. And wouldn't you know it, in my mind, that's what won us a title. So I'm happy to be back with you again, man. This will be fun.
The night shift, baby.
The night shift. Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to show you my beverage of choice here in my World Series mug. You get that. I was at Game 4 last year, so I like to brag about that. It was the greatest experience of my life besides getting married and having my 2 children, but it's right up there. So we're at unforeseen chartered waters here with us because first time since 1995, we're world champs, and we've got a whole year to talk about it. There's nothing no one can say about it. Like I said, we're superstitious as baseball fans. We got to run back a show today, but it feels good. Telling you what, the World Series game was amazing. I kept telling my wife, if they ever go, I've got to go. I don't care what the price was. Sat in second row, left field bleachers, $2,000 later for 2 tickets, but I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I'm telling you right now. So I'll start with you, Chris. What was your biggest takeaway of last year's season? And what do you feel like made it come together for us to be where we are today?
I think there's a couple of key things. I think number one, starting the season, I think we were one of the favorites, really. And then just injury after injury and issues started coming along. I think once the Acuna injury hit, it just felt like I kind of felt like we were going to eventually hit that over that hump and be fine. And then when Acuna went down, it was like, what do we do now? And then I think that's the key with Anthopoulos. I think number one, just finding not just any guys, but the right fit. And if you hear him talk about culture and about stuff, he used to be a guy that just spotted the best player that he could. And I think he's realized now it matters not just the talent, but the fit. And he brought in 3 guys. We were playing how many games with Arcia and Heredia and whoever else in the outfield. And so just to be able to go out and get those 4 guys, we started 7 different catchers last year. And so it was just, he was finding the right guys that had a good fit in the clubhouse. And I think that just keeping things alive, those guys believed in themselves, eventually got over that hump. And then it was just, I tell everybody all the time, it's all about getting in the tournament. Once you get in, whoever's the hottest team is going to win. It's not always the best or most talented team. And they got hot at the right time. Look at Will Smith. He kind of had up and down year. He got hot about the last 2 or 3 weeks of September and just rode that puppy to the end. And same with Matzik. He had up and down. Luke Jackson was probably our most consistent guy. So I think it's just a combination of all those things happening together that really led to that ultimate victory.
The best nickname on Twitter, Tyler Nutsack Matzik, right? Ain't that what? Is that his real handle, or is that somebody making that up? I
I
don't
think
know.
that's his real name. He's a wheelbarrow to carry those things around.
All right, Richard, what do you want to add to that? What's your biggest takeaway?
I think the biggest moment last year had to be the Jock Peterson trade. It signaled to the rest of the team that they weren't giving up, that they wanted the ownership and the management wanted to continue to compete. They weren't just going to throw it in just because Acuna went down, and it seemed to really take off from there. And of course, like Jordan was saying, that bullpen was lights out and really the reason they won last year.
And he had that swagger, man. He's been in those big moments. So, like, there was nothing that he was scared of. He didn't care going against the big bad Dodgers, who he'd already forced to the brink without him. And the dude ain't scared of nothing. Like, he's just like, I'm going to go out and play ball. You know what I mean? So I love that fact. And they was giving away these pearls at the World Series, and it was amazing. But, like, he brought it.
I'm not afraid to admit, when that trade happened, I was like, that's no big deal. It's not going to really help the team any. He's a decent player, but you're not replacing Acuna with him. But like you said, that swagger he brought in and that attitude that he brought really helped lift the team up and start that run.
Anything you want to add, Jordan?
You said biggest takeaways. I think what these guys have echoed is being active at the trade deadline for a team that was under 500. It kind of woke the fan base up too. Hey, we're not giving up on this team. You guys don't give up on this team. And it just felt like from that injury on, something lit a fire under those guys. We saw a bona fide star in Austin Riley come out of his shell. We saw Freddie Freeman playing as good as he ever has. And I know that name is kind of cliche around here now, but he carried us the second half of the year. Riley was an MVP guy. The offense was clicking. The defense was incredible, and that bullpen is unbelievable. So everything had to go right, and it did. And we got a lot of gear because of it, and I spent a lot of money because of it.
Yeah, you put me to shame, man. You're like, you showed me all the swag you got, and I'm just like, I spent too much damn money on the tickets. I got a newspaper. That's about it.
Well, I didn't get to go to the game, so yeah, I kind of spoiled myself on stuff post World Series.
So for me, my biggest takeaway is the fact that Ronald Acuna goes down. We're like, are we dead in the water? Like Soroka, probably supposed to be our best pitcher on paper for a few years now, stuff-wise. He goes down again. And then we're like, Travis d'Arnaud, he was out forever. But then he goes out, AA goes out and gets not one, not two, but 3 pieces to replace Acuna. So they all gelled with the team. You had Jock Peterson carried us in the divisional series versus the Brewers. You had Rosario carry us against the Dodgers. And then you had Soler hit moonshots. It hasn't even landed yet in the World Series against the Astros. So all 3 pieces are the reason we won it all. And it was amazing. I can't even tell you that if Acuna would have stayed healthy, we can't say we'd be where we are right now. It all fell into place.
I'll say this about Acuna. Sorry to catch off. The Braves that won the World Series without Acuna last year, though, if it wasn't for him, they aren't in a position to buy at the deadline. He single-handedly kept the Braves in the race within a few games. And so I think that gets overlooked a lot. I mean, he was the best player in baseball. He was going to be the MVP if he didn't get hurt. And so, but it's kind of unique that with his going down, but the fact that he kept us in that race long enough, because there was a lot of talk about settling. There was a lot of talk about trading Freeman. all these different things. If we're not within 4 or 5 games, we don't become buyers.
I agree with you
You're right.
100%. I agree with you 100%. So, Jordan, you brought this up briefly, and I know it's the Freddie Freeman, but we're going to talk about it for a second. I'm going to lead this question for you. And Richard, Chris, you all can chime in when he's done if you got anything to add. But we got Freeman versus Olsen. All right. So, one, how do you feel about us going in the direction of Olsen? And two, who will put up better numbers this year?
Yeah, that was a very tough time for Braves fans because if you'll remember, we traded for Olsen before Freddie signed. So no one saw that coming. Well, I'm going to say no one, but a lot of us did not see that coming. We figured we'd either sign Freddie or he would sign with the Dodgers, and then we would have to kind of respond to that. But the fact that they traded for Olsen prior to Freddie signing signaled, nah, we're going in a different direction. How do I feel? I'm a 5 fan, so if I could have any guy at first base for the Braves in 2022, to me it would be Freddie Freeman. That obviously didn't happen. And if you said, well, you're left with Matt Olson as your guy for the next 8 years, well, I might be sad on the outside, but I'm happy on the inside because what an incredible player. He's from Atlanta. He's for all intents and purposes appears to be a great guy, and I'm thrilled to death to have him. He's a power hitting left-handed guy, just like Freeman. Then you ask who's going to have a better season. I'm going to say in 2022, Freddie Freeman has a better season, but I think Matt's coming over, big shoes to fill. Meanwhile, Freddie's going over, sliding into, on paper, the best offense I've ever seen. So I don't think Olsen will have bad numbers. I just think Freddie has a better year.
Either of you guys have got anything to add?
I would say it was tough losing Freddie. I think the biggest problem with that was the lockout. It really hurt the negotiations with Freddie. And then when it ended, the Braves had to do something. They had to make a move. The spring training was starting, and to me, it seemed like Freddie or his agent, they wanted that long, drawn-out process that he deserved as a free agent to see what he could get. But this year, you couldn't do that, and they had to make a move, and they did it. It was unfortunate. They got a good player, as of who was going to have a better season. I don't know if it's going to be that much different, really. Freddie hits higher average, gets on base more. Olsen will probably hit more bombs. He's a better fielder. Not that that matters that much at first, really. But I think it's going to be pretty equal. It will have a lot of stress trying to replace Freddie Freeman. Fans are going to get – I already saw some people saying, I'm not impressed with Matt Olsen. I'm like, man, it's spring training. He hasn't even started yet.
Let him play a game first.
To hit homers everywhere. It's like, so I think it'll be pretty close, but I think Jordan could be right. The fact that Freddie has no pressure hitting in that lineup. So it should be interesting and good.
Your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, like Jordan, I'm a huge Freddie guy. I'll miss him. He was been one of my favorite players. I think the one thing I've been telling people is we didn't get Olsen to replace Freeman. We got Olsen to replace Rizzo or worse. If we don't get Olsen at that point, then the drop off is significant. And so the work that Adopoulos did is just hard to even describe. We're going to miss Freddie. Look, it's just you can't replace guys like that as far as what they mean to the city and the team. I think if COVID hadn't hit, he would have been extended a year or two ago, and we're having a different conversation. But that happened. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars, like every team did. So you couldn't just throw out, 7-8 year extensions at that point, and then, stuff happens. So look, Glavine finishes. Glavine went somewhere else. Smoltz finished his career somewhere else. McCann was gone and came back. Hank Aaron, Dale Murphy. So if you look at all these legends, other than Chipper, there's very few that last. There's not a lot of Chippers or Jeters or Moran or Rivera's out there. As far as numbers go, I agree with Jordan. I think it's going to be very close, but I think Freddie probably has a little bit better numbers overall. Both will hit more homers and RBIs. But if you have to be to take one guy the next 6 years over Freddie's contract, I'll take Olson's production over his next 6 years over Freddie. He's 5 years younger. He's going to not hit the top house. He's going to be hitting balls over the top house out to the battery. He's a tremendous human being too. He's already got a lot of things in the community here that he's still working on, and so I'm happy for him. I think it's a great fit. He was going to be roommates with Dansby at Vanderbilt until he got drafted in the first round, so he already has that connection too. So I think he'll fit in just fine with the club.
You got to think too, he played in that spacious ballpark out in Oakland, and he had 39 bombs on the season last year. I believe 39 bombs, but how many of those shots would he have hit last year that probably would have landed out there in the Chop House in Atlanta? So I feel like he's definitely got 40 home run potential. And that's saying, I mean, I'm 45 probably, but I'm excited. I feel like it's the next best scenario. Obviously, Freeman's right here. How can he not be? But if we're going to fall down, that's the best place to stand back up is right there with him, in my opinion. But
Great.
I'll root for 5 the rest of his career, no doubt.
Hey, Richard, I'll let you lead this one, Richard. So kind of a surprise, really, because Will Smith, he did do his thing, but then he was a bend, don't break kind of a closer, not your traditional style closer. We went out and signed Kenley Jansen, which was kind of a surprise. And so, this is a 2-part question. Are you a fan of the Kenley Jansen signing? And we just got news about Luke Jackson. I know a lot of people have mixed reactions and opinions of Luke Jackson. He's probably out for the year, last I heard. So, do you like the Jansen signing, and who steps up for Luke Jackson? Because he would take the ball whenever you give it to him. So there is innings there that has to be eaten up. So what are your thoughts on that?
I like the Kenley signing. It's 1 year. I know it's 16 million, but it's still 1 year. If it doesn't work out, you only got on the hook for 1 year. He bounced back last year. He had some good numbers. The thing that worries me is his strikeout to walk ratio was his worst ever. Hopefully he can get a little bit back towards 5 instead of 2.5. I think he's a good player. I personally wish that the Braves would have a closer by committee, whoever's best for that scenario, and instead of just plugging one guy in there. But Snit's old school. He's going to put Kenley as the closer until he can't do it. He says he, isn't getting it done. But Smith did good last year. He had his ups and downs, but he did good. But I think the Kenley trade signing was a good one. I'm bummed about Luke Jackson. I like Luke. His peripherals the last couple of years showed that he was a better pitcher than what his numbers were showing. And last year he seemed to put it all together and had a really good season. And then this happens. I'm pretty bummed. I think the signing of Colin McHugh is huge, especially now. I think it's gonna help. He can go multiple innings. He can pitch wherever they want to put him. I think he'll be the guy. And then in I think August, Kirby Yates is supposed to be back, and I think that will help too down the stretch.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Jansen signing. He's from Curacao. He grew up a Braves fan, so I think he's kind of re-energized. I think he fits in really good with our young Latin core of guys. He'll fit right in. I love Will Smith's response. I love that Anthopoulos went to him and asked him about it. I think it's actually a better situation now because you legitimately have 4 or 5 closers now to finish off the game. I think the Colin McHugh signing might end up being the best signing we did in the offseason. I'm a little biased because he went to my alma mater at Berry College, but he's been the best relief pitcher in baseball since 2018 after being converted from a starter. I think he's sneaky underrated. He's going to be like the guy that they throw out there, kind of like Matzik, just in a tough situation. He's not going to be, moved by it. Then you throw in guys like Tyler Thornburg, who's back healthy again and throws a million. Spencer Strider's probably going to have a big spot in this pen, at least for a while. I might love the shirt. They might send him back down to start, but this pin's not only just the best I've seen the Braves have at the back end in a long time, probably since the Yo Roll days. Remember those guys? But this is the deepest pin I can remember us ever having. I mean, we're not throwing out, Hovland anymore, or I don't think Newcomb's the worst guy on there now, and he's not going to be here long, I don't think. And so you got O'Day back, and he's been really solid. They're just so deep. We get a lead after 5. Braves aren't losing any games this year.
Anything to add there, Jordan? I think they covered it, but what do you got? I mean, praise your guy at least. What you got on your shirt?
Yeah, man. They were throwing out some knowledge on names there. Yeah, I am. If you can't see, I am repping my guy, Spencer Strider, the stash. He's my guy. I was a big fan of his. I'm an ACC baseball guy. He played at Clemson, and was a fan of his when we drafted him. We might get to it later, but that 2020 draft produced Spencer Strider and Bryce Elder in rounds 4 and 5, and that's not even including Jared Schuster, number 1, and the guy who's the fifth of his name, the Game of Thrones guy. He's drawing a blank on his name right now, but he's from Michigan. But yeah, I think Strider, I like him as a starter. He's not really needed as a starter right now, so I do think he can help out of the pen. Maybe he does take the Luke Jackson place as that righty. We also acquired Jay Jackson from San Francisco. He had a good year for the Giants last year. They were in a playoff chase. So, look for him. He's hurt right now, but look for him later in the year. And the unheralded of all of them to me is Darren O'Day, who was just mentioned as well, who was great last time he was with Atlanta, and now he's back. So, yeah, it's tough to lose Luke Jackson. He's a good clubhouse guy. He's a fan favorite. I'd be remiss if I didn't throw a shout out for my buddy Kenny Matthews, who might be the number 1 Luke Jackson fan in this world. But Luke's a good guy, and I think this is his last year under contract, so hopefully he's back with the Braves in 2023. But that was the second part. The other part, you asked, Kenley Jansen, how can you not like it? 1-year deal. Probably the best closer in baseball for the last 10 to 15 years. Has a winning culture, won a World Series, closed in some big games. And while Will Smith was dominant in the playoffs, the one person on our team last year that drove everyone nuts the most during the season was Will Smith. And yes, he was great in the postseason, didn't allow a run, but you need a guy. And I don't like left-handed closers. I know Josh Hader's great, Billy Wagner is great, but I'm just not a fan of left-handed closers. So it's nice to know that they're there. Smith can close a game if we got 3 lefties, but I still have nightmares of those game-winning home runs that he gave up last year. So I'll ride with Kenley Jansen every day of the week.
So, Jordan, you brought up the fact that Spencer Strider, you love the fact that you would like to see him in a starting rotation. It leads me into my next question. So we're talking about Ynoa and Wright, 4 and 5 potential starters on paper. Ynoa, he did really well last year until he broke his hand when he was mad and punched his hand, was out for a while. He's even more pissed off the fact that there's no DH, there's a DH this year, so he can't come up to the plate and hit grand slams. But so my question is, do you feel like those guys will stay in the 4 or 5 spots, and do you think they'll perform, or do you think someone like a Strider will come in and take over a spot? Like, to me, Kyle Wright's came up big in spots, but we haven't seen the consistency yet. So is this the year?
It's got to be. I think for Kyle Wright, I think it's got to be the year. We've seen guys like Bryce Wilson's gone, but you had guys like Bryce Wilson, Kyle Wright. Now you've got Kyle Muller, you've got Tucker Davidson, you've got Bryce Elder, who I just mentioned a minute ago. A lot of people want to see him right now pitching in the major leagues. And then you've got Spencer Strider, who was nothing but a starter last year through 3 or 4 levels, all the way up through Gwinnett. So I'm gonna kind of give a cheat out answer. I'm gonna say one of those 2 stays locked in as a starter. I don't know who it's gonna be. I thought Kyle Wright pitched well in the playoffs. I thought he pitched well in the World Series, and he has some filthy stuff. He just has to put it all together, and I'm hoping that this is the year for Kyle Wright.
Richard, do you have a good feeling about one or the other, or do you feel better about one?
I don't feel good about Wright. I'd love to see him pull it together, but we're basing, this on a couple good starts in the playoffs, which was big, was huge. But, other than that, we don't have a good track record with him at all. I'd love to see him pull it together, though. He seems like he'd be a really good pitcher. I think by the end of the year, he's going to be in the bullpen. I think he's a good pitcher, but I think he needs another pitch to be a long-term starter. I'd like to see Spencer Strider in the rotation. And I like Tucker. I think Tucker Davidson's going to be the guy this year if he stays healthy. I'm worried about the rotation myself, honestly. Top three, pretty good. I think they need one more veteran to really help anchor that rotation, then have a mix at 4, 5, and 6, but.
All right, Chris, I'm not getting a very good feeling here on our current situation. So please give me a glimpse of hope. Tell me these two guys are wrong. What can we expect from our 4 and 5?
I look at it this way. Well, it was probably going to start the All-Star game last year before he went and was an idiot and punched the wall. I'm not as high on him. I think he's a little bit. He gets in the groove and he can be really good for a while. I need to see him this year. I'm a little higher on Wright. I saw something change in Kyle Wright last year. He made some tweaks to his mechanics, which were really helpful for him. And I hate to use this term because it's not necessarily like a analytical term, but he has a much different look about him when he returned last year. And I saw that in spring training. It's a confidence that wasn't there before. And so I think he's going to be a mainstay. I don't know that he's going to be a young candidate, but for a 4th starter, I think he's going to be pretty solid. Honestly, I just think Anoa is probably going to get beat out. I think you got Strider, Tucker Davidson. I'm big on Kyle Muller. I think his stuff's unbelievable. And I think as long as he doesn't go the Newcomb route and forget how to throw strikes, I think he's going to be just unbelievable. And you got Dylan Lee down there. They're just better guys. And of course, Spencer Strider, I'm high on. And I can't wait to see him pitch. I think at some point, one of those guys is going to force their way into that. And let's not forget about Mike Soroka. I'm not counting on him, but that dude's a gamer. He's an ace. If he's anything at all, if he's 80% of what he was, it's like getting an ace at the deadline. And he's expected June, maybe July. So, I think he could hold on for a while. But if nothing else, we have the money and the prospect to go get a guy, and I expect that's probably going to happen with the deadline no matter what.
All right, so I was going to touch on Soroka, but we're running tight on time. So real quick, and I will go around the horn. Jordan, do we run with what we got between now and the farm, or do we go out and get a veteran, in your opinion, real quick?
I don't think AA is done making moves. I think if you had to make me pick, I'd say we make a trade for a veteran. Trade
or no trade, Richard?
I think trade. I think they're going to bring somebody in.
Across the board, Chris, what do you think?
I'm going to go the other direction. I think we stay in-house until around June. I think we give these guys a couple months, and then closer to the trade deadline, I think we make a big splash and get a young, controllable front-end starter to go with these guys.
Oh, that'd be
barring
amazing.
Injury, of course.
That would be amazing. I like your answer.
I like that better.
All right, so we'll start with you, Richard. So NL East predictions. If you'd have told me a month ago, I'd have said Braves, Mets, and then everyone else. But a lot of things have changed with the Mets. The rotation's getting old by the second. So give me your NL East standings in order real quick.
I would go Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins, Nationals.
Jordan, what you got?
Braves, Marlins,
oh,
Mets, Phillies, Nationals.
Did they make it legal down there? Are you in North Carolina? I mean, what are you doing?
Man, those pitchers are elite.
When is Sixto going to start? Is he even in the rotation?
I don't know if he is or not, but I know Sandy Alcantara I want nothing of.
I'm sorry, I lost you after Marlins. So I don't remember what you said. So, Chris, what do you got? Take us home.
I got the same as Richard. I think the Phillies until the Mets fix their culture, I can't believe in them. I think they finish third. I think they get hurt. Phillies will be in it, and then their bullpen and defense will kick them out of it. Braves win the division by 5 or 6 games.
Okay. All right.
Marlins and Nationals.
Marlins and then Nats. See, I think the Marlins is fourth, but we'll see. Jordan, listen, if you're right, you're right. I'll eat crow all day long, buddy. We'll bring you on again. I already told you I would, so don't get all sensitive on me.
I'll let you
I think
slide.
the Marlins will be in it until late.
I'm
all right.
outnumbered.
All right. And NLCS predictions. Jordan, first. Who's the two teams?
Braves, Dodgers.
Anybody agree or disagree with that? What we got?
Braves, Padres.
Okay. Bob Melvin, the difference?
Yeah, and I think some healthy players, and I think the pitching is going to be a lot better this year.
Chris?
I got Braves Dodgers. It's hard to see anybody else beating those two teams.
There's so much bad blood, and I don't know if it's true about Acuna and Freeman, and I don't even care because Freeman's not in the locker room anymore. I don't want to get into the people who aren't here. I want to talk about the people walking through that tunnel. So let's just focus on positive vibes here in the A. But World Series. All right, so who you got in the World Series, Richard?
Braves over the Blue Jays.
Ooh, I love the Blue Jays. What do you got, Jordan?
I thought about the Blue Jays. I'm going to say Braves over White Sox.
All right. La Russa, he's an old school guy, and they're like, can it work with this young and upcoming team? And they showed it was going to work. Hopefully he adds to it this year. We'll see. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays was a sexy pick, and that's kind of who I go with for a while. That team's unreal, the offense. But I think something will happen. I actually have Braves over White Sox as well.
I hate to even say this, but I've got Dodgers beating the Blue Jays. That's my prediction. I'm sorry.
I'm going to hiss at you.
Yeah, please. Hey, I've just always.
If that happens, I'll cheer for the Dodgers.
Oh, wow. No, I can't. All right. So one last time, each of you give the fans listening where they can find you, what you're doing real quick. Give yourself a quick plug, and then we're going to wrap it up. So, Chris, go ahead, buddy.
I'm on social media at CH Disciple. Brave Support Group is my main group. And, kind of higher intelligent discussions than some of the crazy groups. Not these guys, they have good groups. But, we kind of try to take it to another level. Great games, Reds, and we love our Braves.
All right, Richard, where can we find you at and what you up to?
Find us at the Atlanta Braves dugout on Facebook group. It's a group where you can say what you want and you don't have to worry about people trashing you and calling you names and just you don't have to worry about being called a jerk because you don't like the way a player's playing. So it's a good place to be. We get some other groups. You get to the dugout though, we'll get you to the other groups.
All right, Jordan.
So I currently co-founded Chop Champions with one of my good friends, your everyone's favorite West Coast admin, Mr. Amir Ali. He's pretty well known in Atlanta already, and he's living out in LA, repping the Braves. So Amir and I just founded Chop Champions about 2 months ago, and we're already over 3,000 followers and growing. I also write, in my opinion, the best Braves source of news on Facebook, Braves Tama blog. Chet, Zach, those guys, they brought me in, and we're really bringing good stuff there. Braves Tama blog.
All great stuff, guys. Gentlemen, I appreciate you guys coming on. We're less than an hour away from opening day against the Reds. You've dropped some great knowledge. And like I said before, I hope you share it into your groups, and we'll do this again in the future, maybe around the All-Star break if you guys are good. So I appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
See you guys.
Go Braves.
That's right. Chop on, brothers.